The reason why I continued reading this book are truly the women. I'm really enjoying it. Hey everyone, welcome back to the start of a new episode for my project, which is hopefully reading the Women's Prize Longlist. Episode 2, my friends, episode 2. So I am updating you because I have read half of my next book and I only have 20 minutes to do it. So I started reading Memphis by Tara M. Stringfellow. Now this is a generational story and it's about these 3 women, Joan, Miriam, no, it's about 4 women, Joan, Miriam, August and Hazel. Hazel is the mum, Joan and Miriam and August are the daughters of Hazel, and then Joan is the daughter of Miriam. 3 generations. Joan also has a sister named Myra. So it's halfway through. I'm really engaged with the story, especially with the stories of these women. These women are wonderful and they feel very real. Like I feel like I can go outside and like talk to Hazel. Like it feels very real, and I really enjoy that aspect of it. I love a character named Miss Dawn. She's like a neighbor, but she has known the girls, the North family, for so long. I love her. She is a star. She's just hilarious and wonderful, and she gets it. I don't know how to speak about this book right now. Although I'm enjoying it, can I say that I'm enjoying it? I don't think enjoying is a good word. I'm engaged with it. I'm immersed in it. I haven't stopped reading. But I don't understand something, and that is the actions of August's son, Derek. Derek, when he was a kid, trigger warnings for rape and domestic abuse. But when Joan is 3 years old, Derek, her cousin, rapes her. And the way that it's treated is very strange to me. I understand that obviously, like, I'm not understanding the context of it, or I don't understand the importance of kin and the historical context, but it's just very strange. And I'm trying to figure out what the purpose of this was, other than just a very traumatic event, to emphasize and highlight the running theme of this novel, which I've been like journaling my thoughts. So the women, like mainly Miriam and her daughter Joan, have been the victims of their husbands or their cousins, you know, rage, respectively. So I understand and appreciate the fact that this book aims to highlight Black womanhood and how historically and to this day, Black women have the assumed or expected role to absorb Black men's rage, their frustration, insecurity, and their absence, and how they're treated by white people, and they take it out on their wives, daughters, and their family members. But I don't understand, like, I don't think you would have necessarily needed that rape to occur in order to spotlight and continue to spotlight these themes, because that was already happening. It was my same issue with Pod. And I don't know if there's going to be like a complex untangling of like the legacy of this and the reason why Derek is still very much a part of the family, forcing Joan to have to live in the same house as him. And Joan gets told off sometimes by August and her mum Miriam for the way that she speaks to Derek. But Joan is angry, she's full of rage because this man, this boy, her cousin, raped her. And it's just this weird dynamic. And Miriam's character, who's the mother, like, first of all, when Joan and her sister Myra come back to the family house, which is where August and Derek live, so August being Miriam's sister, Joan and Myra's auntie, the one who warns Myra to never be alone with Derek is Joan, and it's not Miriam or it's not August, which I found interesting. And Miriam, later on, she says that she doesn't hate Derek because he is kin. And I'm sitting there like, babe, do you not understand what happened? And again, I think maybe I'm missing the fact that there's a very complex kinship networks, but he raped your daughter. How can you as a mother support him? Because it's not like a whoopsie, because the way he did it, it was very deliberate. He knew what he was doing. And Joan was 3 years old. Even if he was, 7 or 8? It doesn't matter. He knew what he was doing. And I just don't quite understand the dynamic, and I don't understand how the situation is being treated. And I don't think Joan's trauma is being empathized with at all by her mother. I don't know. Then at one point Miriam's like, oh, maybe it's because Derek just needed a father. And I'm like, no. She does say then after that, like, oh, but like my girl, you could also argue the same with my girls, and my girls don't, do that sort of stuff. I just hope that the trajectory of this book, we find some, not revenge, but just justice for Joan. I feel really sorry for her. But other than that, the celebration of blackness, this community, Douglas, Memphis, oh my god, I nearly cried a few times. I really wish we got more of Hazel's story. Hazel is a badass, and she's like the matriarch, so to speak, and her story and her love for her husband Myron, holy shit, Myron was just, their relationship was beautiful, so beautiful. And I just don't know what's going to happen, but I love the community, and I love the way that they center themselves. Like August has a hair salon, and so like hair is really important, and like music is really important, and food, and it's just really gorgeous, like that aspect of it. And I love that Joan and Myra are being like brought up in this environment, even though it includes Derek, but like I feel like being surrounded by incredibly wonderful black women is going to be really fantastic for them. And especially because like Joan loves August, and she can't seem to like get out of her head the fact that her auntie is like the most beautiful dark-skinned woman she has ever seen, and for her being a dark-skinned young girl herself, she feels seen, and she's like, oh my god, look at her, like she's beautiful. And I thought that was really, really precious, and it really just shows, demonstrates, emphasizes, highlights the importance of representation, not only in just like popular like pop culture, in media, but also in like life. Gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. Yeah, that's my thoughts at the moment. I am excited to see what happens. For me, I want Derek to go, I want there to be something with Derek's character, as in like, what the fuck's happening with him. Maybe an explanation, or maybe just some sort of justice for Joan, because I don't think people are really understanding her. I want Joan's art to be something fabulous for them. I love Joan. I really connect with her. Myra is a spitfire. She is the youngest daughter, the younger sister. I can't wait to see what she does. I just hope there's this continual celebration of like black women. Like I'm here for it. But yeah, I really do want to see more of Hazel's story, or more like tying in from Hazel's story to her children and grandchildren. to make this more of a an actual generational story instead of it happening seemingly separately. Does that make sense? Anyway, that's my thoughts on Memphis. I'll see if I can fit 4 books in this vlog. If not, it'll be 3, and then we'll just see. I'm really hoping that I'm gonna get some good ones this time round. At least a 4 fucking star. Anyway, I need to go to this meeting. I'll keep you updated. Hello. So it is later the same day. I finished Memphis by Tara M. Stringfellow. I liked it. I'm giving it 4 stars. I think the reason why I continued reading this book are truly the women, the joy, the love that they have for one another. Exceptional. I don't know how I feel about how the whole Derek and Joan storyline was dealt with. I think the author wanted us to empathize with Derek, and like I understand he had a hard life growing up. I think it was a kind of conveyed that his father really badly abused him, but I don't know if I can also like forgive him the way, not forgive, but move past so easily what he did by saying, oh, but he's had a really hard life and he's having a really hard life in prison, implying that what he did to Joan is what's happening to him. And obviously that's fucking horrible, and as a human being, like, that's terrible. But he made decisions, and I don't think I'm articulate enough or intelligent enough to have this very difficult conversation, but I don't know if I enjoyed or just felt satisfied with the way it was handled. I think it could very easily be construed that we're supposed to excuse Derek and Jax, who is Miriam's husband, because they went through shit. But like, you can go through shit and not be a terrible person, and dangerously hurt the people that you either claim to love or that you're family with. So that aspect I wasn't like a bit too sure of, but I really loved the way that Stringfellow portrayed Joan and Myra. Why didn't we get Myra's perspective? I would have loved her perspective. She was wonderful. She's the younger sister of Joan. I love Joan. Joan is exceptional. She is amazing. I love her. August, I think, is a great character as well. But Miss Dawn is, again, the true star. I wish we had more of Hazel, who is the mother of, I think I've already said this, of Miriam and August. She was amazing. I wish we had more of her story and more of her story with her husband Myron, because Hazel was incredible with the very few chapters we get with her. But I loved the way that Joan kind of finds her own freedom and her own passion and to follow her dreams. I think that was really beautiful. I think this needed a bit more time to work a few of the threads that were being explored. But yeah, 4-star. I just don't really understand the point of that whole Derek and Joan. I don't understand what it further did. Like, what did it do to further the plot? I don't know. Anyway, I don't know what book I'm going to read next. It might be Bandit Queens. It might be Stone Blind. I got notified from my library that I have 3 other books for the Women's Prize Longlist to pick up tomorrow. So I will obviously let you know what I choose. Hi, just interjecting here, editing Alex. I found out that Tara M. Stringfellow has actually been like attacking negative reviewers of her book. So, author behaving badly, don't like that. So I feel as though my feelings toward the book has, I don't know, kind of shifted a little bit as a result. So just be aware, I'll link a video down below that kind of talks about the situation. I don't think an author should be coming into reviewer spaces at all. Anyway, yeah. Okay, as you saw from the last clip, I started reading The Bandit Queens by Parini Shroff. I'm really enjoying it. Oh, I needed something like this. I needed something like this because I knew that the long list was good. I just needed to read the good ones, and I'm reading one of the good ones. I started this whenever I filmed that clip a couple days ago. I just, it's just really fun and fast-paced and entertaining. This is very entertaining. It's about this woman named Gita. She is a widower, but not really. Her husband disappeared, but everyone just assumes that she killed him. So literally what the blurb says, a woman in the village named, I think her name is Farah. When Farah comes to her and says, I need you to do what you did to your husband, Gita's like, what do you mean? She wants Gita's help to kill her. Why am I so like, anyway. Gita's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I didn't kill my husband, but no one believes her. But you have to understand also, because everyone assumes that Gita killed her husband, she's been ostracized, essentially. Everyone thinks that she's a churel. She's very much like labeled as like not the witch, but she's kind of pushed and to the side and perpetuated in this way. All the kids are scared of her. She's really lonely, but things happen as a result. I really am enjoying Gita's character. I'm enjoying her crazy life that is happening right now. Sometimes I think she's interestingly quite naive. I don't know if that makes sense, but there are things that she assumes, not naive, but she assumes the best in everyone, even though I don't think she would necessarily consider that herself, but she does. But then it kind of always seems to bite her in the ass, which is really sad. But she also comes to this realization that maybe she wasn't necessarily ostracized by the community, but she became a hermit and just like so in fear of humiliation that she became uncaring and unwilling to be part of the community because she was just terrified of the potential of being humiliated, of being rejected. So that was a really interesting exploration. I don't know if you can tell, this is just a really fun book. It's just so fun, but also the commentary, the patriarchal oppression, the privileging of men, the suffering of the women at the hands of men, even just like the everyday casual kind of sexism where like this idea is perpetuated almost constantly through the discursive culture of the community, of the society itself, where women are just constantly pushed down, like they're just constantly considered inferior. There was this scene with a woman's police officer, and the way that she was talked to by her boss, but not only that, but the way that the boss then was talking to Gita and Saloni, who are two of the characters obviously in this book, but he ended up like taking over from the woman police officer to take their statements. But the way that he then was like joking with Gita and Saloni about this woman police officer, it's like, oh, women, like, we had to hire her because of like the quota and they wanted a woman, and it is very just casual, like, yeah, women literally can't do anything. And Gita and Saloni play on that, which is very interesting. These women, like, they play on men's inability to consider these women as anything but what they are supposed to be, which is just like housewives and mothers and, you know, not intelligent human beings. So that's really fascinating. So I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying this. This is exactly what I wanted. Having a fun time. This, I think, is a book that would very much suit a lot of people. Like the readership demographic is very large because it's a book that you can just get down with. Like it's easy to be enveloped into this story. It's also hilarious and kind of ridiculous, but in the best way possible. There was this scene oh god. There was this scene where Geeta is distracting Farah. I keep on forgetting her name, Farah. In Farah's house. And Saloni is creeping into the backyard trying to get this fruit that is that grows in Farah's backyard. And it's just like the most funniest thing. I was listening to it last night and I was laughing, like I was loud. It was so funny. And then Saloni gets shitted on by a bird. I was like, this is ridiculous, but it's so funny. And I think the author Parini Shroff does really well in interweaving these moments of hilarity and comedy whilst also talking about really important issues. So like you kind of like, it's like a balance, because you don't want this to be too, you know, intense, but at the same time it should be, because it's talking about really important issues and really important topics. But these little like sprinkles of absolute hysterical moments, it works really well for me. I think it works really well for the book. I'm having a good time. Glad we were able to update on that, because I quickly wanted to show you the lineup for this vlog. I may have already talked about this, but things are changing, maybe. So I want to show you, I got a lot of these books from the library yesterday, and I also bit the bullet and purchased a couple in celebration of submitting my draft. So these are the books that we have to read. I'm waiting on a few others, like Trespassers by Louise Kennedy and I'm a Fan by Sheena Patel. I'm really excited for I'm a Fan. I think I'm going to read Homesick next, and then I'll read Stone Blind. So I'm hoping to get through a few of these this week, because it's like a week off technically. So here's hoping for that. I feel like the books that I've got now are the ones that I'm just so excited to sink my teeth into. I am just really looking forward now to the rest of the long list. I think maybe I shouldn't have started with Pod. I feel like Pod really, I was watching my previous vlog, and the last book that I read for that vlog was Pod. And I feel like that I did a huge disservice to myself. Truly. I should have DNF'd it, because I finished reading that book and I just felt so low. I had such a bleak outlook on the Women's Prize long list, because I was like, how can this book have been chosen? Like, what the fuck is going on? But now I'm just very excited about the next few books, honestly. I'm excited to see what makes the short. If Pod makes the shortlist, going to need to have words with the Women's Prize panel. It got cold all of a sudden, so I finished The Bandit Queens. I really liked it. I thought the ending was satisfying. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. I really enjoyed it. I think that I will definitely be reading from this author in the future. I just really enjoyed how the story progressed. I do wish that there was slightly more, I don't know, character work, but overall a fun time, fantastic commentary, vengeance filled, but like, you know, like it needed to happen. I'm gonna see later on if this version and the one that was longlisted for Homesick are the same or not. I really don't have anything else to say. I think I said everything that I wanted to say about the Bandit Queens. It was fun, it was important, it was a ride, a thrilling ride, and I'm really happy that I read it. If you hear noises, it's the washing machine. I just want to get my tripod thingy-mabobby, and I want to quickly give you an update because I started and finished. Oh my god, I have to admit, this is not book related, but last night I kind of felt like I was coming down with some sort of cold, so I literally went to bed at like 9:30. Did I sleep well though? No, of course not. My dog decided that he wanted to sleep with me, which is fantastic because I love him very much, but as a result he pushed me literally out of the bed, so I didn't have a very comfortable sleep, so I'm exhausted and I feel like something's going on. Anyway, you don't care about that. Hey everyone, last night I started and finished a book for this. It was Homesick by Jennifer Croft, yeah, and I enjoyed it. I really liked the way that it was written. It's not like chapters, it's like different sections, and the way that these sections begin, it's like there's like a bold sentence or a little mini paragraph that is kind of like the topic sentence of the section. It's it gives you a taste of like what is happening in this little, it's not even yet, it's like they're like fragments, but the story itself is not fragmented. It's still quite a cohesive narrative. And what's it about? So this is the book that has a very interesting history. I think it was written originally in Spanish. There's been like a few iterations of this book. And so the one that I think I showed in the vlog, the one that I was able to physically get a copy from the library was the 2019 version that was promoted as a memoir, like a creative nonfiction. Is that how you would say it? Because the main character, Amy, is actually is the author. So what this iteration does, the 2022 version, is that it's just promoted as fiction, but you still have the same characters. You have Amy and Zoe, and Amy is the main character, Zoe is her sister, and it's just Amy's life, but like snapshots of her life. But it's a kind of coming of age but it also tracks the progression of Amy's like depression and the challenges that she faces as like the older sibling of a sister who has epilepsy. I literally just went blank then. Who has epilepsy and who also eventually gets diagnosed with something else. I don't remember the name, like the full name of the condition, but it has lupus in it, in like the name. So very interesting. I think there were sections of it that were very emotionally poignant, very beautiful. I really liked the portrayal of Amy's relationship with her sister. It's like full of love, and Amy only wants to protect her sister, but at the same time there's this tension because like Amy is growing up and she kind of just wants her own space, but then when she gets the space she feels guilty and she misses her, but then, you know, things happen and the sisters don't talk for a bit. Like it's just very it's beautiful. Like, it is beautiful. Yeah, like that's really all I want to say. Like, it was a good story. I did flip through the memoir version, and I think I haven't read the memoir version. Maybe I should, if I have time. But the memoir version has like images and pictures interspersed throughout like the story. And if you haven't read Homesick yet, photography, like for Amy, is quite an important part of her growing up, because not only is it this like hobby, it's also a way that she begins to learn about the world and reflect on her position in the world. And so in the narrative itself, Amy uses these pictures that she takes to understand certain things. And because it's such a huge part of it, I understand why the memoir has pictures, because in the memoir it has these pictures, but it also, some pictures have just like a sentence, like a caption, but other pictures have like a little mini paragraph kind of talking about the picture and Amy's relationship to this picture. And I think that would maybe be a strength to the memoir version of Homesick, because I think that this would work better as a memoir, truly. I don't know if the fiction, like promoting it as a fiction novel is necessarily doing a service to the story or the book, or Jennifer Croft as an author. I think this should have just stayed as a memoir, creative nonfiction. Is it creative nonfiction or autofiction? I don't know what it is, but you know what I mean. But it is good. It was good, and I can understand why it was put on the long list. It was a solid story. Very short though. It was my version, the ebook version that I read on my iPad, was only 175 pages. It was teeny tiny. And I felt like at the end I was just like, okay, like, okay, that's all, no problem. It was good. It was fine. Like, it was good. Would I recommend it? Yes, I think I would. To people who, that washing machine is so loud. I think if you enjoy books that play on writing, like the way that a novel is structured. Oh my god, this washing machine. It's like a rocket ship. It's gonna take off. If you like when books play with writing and structure, definitely read this. I love books that do that. I love books that do that. They're some of my favorites. I recently read Reamble by Priya Hine, who did this. They're quite similar in the way that they're structured, actually. I loved After Sappho by Selby Wynne Schwartz, which is literally written in like fragments. I love, like, In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado is my favorite memoir of all time. And the way it's written is like a deconstruction of what a memoir is. Like, it's beautiful. So I love when books do that. I love it. So for me, like, this was kind of a book that I knew I was going to enjoy. Like, I knew I was going to have at least a good time reading, because I love when books do that. And I did. Jennifer Croft, I would like to see what she does with her own writing in the future. I do now want to read her, like, what she translates, because her love for different languages really came through in this, through the character of Amy, who I'm just, unfortunately, I equate Amy to Jennifer because of the memoir. But yeah, so it was good, and I'm happy that I read it. I feel like I'm always filming in my mum's room. Anyway, hey everyone. So I decided just to quickly slide this book into this vlog, and that was Cursed Red by Sophie Mackintosh. Now, I loved this. Oh god. How do I justify myself? So I loved this. I loved this. This is fantastic. It's fantastic. How do I describe this book? how would you describe this book? A very slow moving, no plot, just vibes kind of book, which if you know me, you know that's my kind of book. It is about obsession and fixation and people doing bad things to each other. Toxic friendships. What else? And the very slow development of a town descending into mass hysteria. What a ride, huh? So our main character is Allie, who is the baker's wife. Now, Allie is screaming for just someone to love her. Her husband hasn't like touched her with affection sexually for a very long time, and she's kind of desperate for it. I think there's also a lot of things happening mentally with Allie that she kind of touches on, especially from her past, but she doesn't really talk about. She's a very complex woman who maybe doesn't make the best decisions, but she gets introduced to a new couple that comes into the town that she has married into. So remember that she is an outsider to this town, and she becomes kind of obsessed with them. She sees them in accidentally kind of is a voyeur to them doing something slightly sexual, and she becomes obsessed. She both wants to be Violet, who is the woman. She both wants to be Violet, wants to be with Violet, and also wants to be with her husband, Violet's husband, I should say, who is just given the name Ambassador. We're not given his name. Because does he actually exist? Anyway, so Allie is essentially like pulled into the gravitational pull of this couple, and Allie kind of goes off the rails a little bit, and it's because of her obsession with Violet and with Violet's husband, and it's kind of gets like sapphic-esque, and there's like this weird instance with the husband, Violet's husband, but it's really about these three people and how they're affecting each other. Allie and Violet are very, 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 very just like intensely together all the time, constantly. But Allie is, you know, she hates Violet, but also loves Violet and is also in love with Violet. It's so weird. It's so weird. It's so weird. And Violet is I don't know whether Violet knew what was happening in terms of the wider context of what her husband was doing, but she wasn't innocent. Like, she was definitely manipulating things. Violet was never really Allie's friend, but you could also argue that Allie was never really Violet's friend. They were both using each other because of reasons. And then you have this context in the background like happening, that obviously Allie's husband is the baker of the town, and he has been like obsessed with trying to make the perfect bread, and he's in talks with the ambassador, who is Violet's husband, and the ambassador's like, oh, I can source you something that in America we use to make our bread just like so fucking delicious. And the Allie's husband is like, I would love that. That would be awesome. Probably shouldn't have trusted the ambassador, but you have this whole bread situation happening, and as a result there are also other things that are happening in the town that are slowly showing the cracks of the town itself and of the people of the town as a collective. And so there's really strange and horrific instances that happen. But Allie is still so fixated and obsessed with Violet and her husband that because she's reminiscing and talking about what happened from the future, the lens in which she views what happened in the town kind of has this like haze over it, because she kind of like, she feels for what happened and like, oh my god, this is so horrible, but then she doesn't really care because she's just so obsessed with Violet and her husband and the way that they're living. It was strange, it was weird, it was disturbing. The way that it ended, also disturbing and weird, but I can understand why people call this like boring. I think Charlie from Charlie Brooks, who is incredible, lovely, wonderful, she called it boring bread. When I saw that comment, I couldn't stop laughing because I understand because nothing happens. Like this is no plot, just vibes. Like that's literally how I would market this book. And it's also a very short book, but I took a couple days to read it because I have to admit the writing for me was so beautiful. Let's see if I can find, like, let me just see if I can get to like a random one. Okay, so this is about her husband, Allidy's husband. I couldn't tell if what excited me was the image of Violet and my husband specifically, or just the idea that he might still be capable of being seduced by someone, that desire might still live in him somewhere. I love it. I just thought this was an interesting character thing for Allidy. So you have these letters to Violet, as well as just narration by Allidy, if that makes sense. Dear Violet, you never asked me what it was like to spend my life listening as other people spoke. You never asked what it was like to hold those words inside me, to decide what to share, what to insinuate, but mainly what to keep for myself. These glowing and sordid little secrets that sustained me. So like Allidy is like, she going through it. Like there's stuff that we don't really know much about her, and like you don't really know much about Allidy, but I don't think you're supposed to know much about her because she doesn't want you to know. Okay, this is when they first introduced to each other. This is the last quote I'll be sharing. I could say that she came in and took my hand in hers, looked into my eyes and said she always wanted a friend, a true friend, that she could see we were alike, with twin ravaging hearts under our ribs. My dour blouse could not conceal that from her. I could say that she picked me out of everyone in the town, was drawn along the sun-bleached stone of the pavements by hunger, by instinct, to where I had always stood, waiting. Like, the yearning that Allidy has just to have a connection, really. But yeah, I loved this. I loved it. I can understand why people hate it though, because there is like nothing really happens, and Allidy is not a very likable character. Like no one in this is likable. It's just a story about terrible, like not terrible, but like horrible people being horrible to each other and themselves and to like everyone else. But I loved it. I don't know what that says about me. Anyway, can you see my dog? That's my dog. That's Hunter. Isn't he precious? He does that all by himself because he's my baby boy. You're a good boy, honey. But I'm going to log off and finish this vlog. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed my incoherent ramblings about these books. I think this episode was a success in comparison to the last episode. What do you think? Very excited to read. I actually have started reading another book for the Women's Prize, Longlist, and I'm already enjoying it. So that will be in hopefully next week or the week after. There'll be another episode. I'm running out of breath. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, morning, afternoon, night, wherever you are in the world. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.